So Duel Links currently has a bit of a tier 0 problem, at least in Rush Duel, given we just had the new Garage Festival, and it was a bit of a mess of a weekend, right? I placed 273rd, I was playing the new Kalamakali Salamander deck, and, you know, it did fine, right? It wasn't the best. I overall had a 54% win rate, and you're going to see that number kind of crop up even more going forward. But overall, this event was really dominated by one deck, or should I say one skill, and that was the brand new Gaia skill. Every player in the top 100 was on this skill, and so in technicality, we have our first real tier 0 or tier -1 format in Duel Links in Rush Duel, and it wasn't really that fun to play in. And how do we know? Well, of course, we've compiled all of the decks in the top 100 over on duellinksmeta.com, and it is just Gaia Matarion after Gaia Matarion. There's a few pure Matarions in here and there, there's a hero Gaia player, but there's no variance aside from that, right? There's variance in the decklist, of course, right? You're seeing people playing different ratios of Gaia, playing Flame Ruler, playing the Bold Tricorn, playing different Curse of Dragon ratios, and so it's not like Cyber Dragon was back in, say, September, when it was the only thing you saw on ladder because it was the cheapest deck to get into. You went to the mini box one time, got Cyber Twin Dragon, and you get to 10 games really easily, and Rush Duel ladder was filled with Cyber Dragon players. It's not boring like that, but it's such a unfun deck to play against when it's the only thing you're playing against over and over and over again for 72 hours straight. Now, this new player campaign we had, right, giving us the Gaia structure deck, he gave us the Conqueror Champions, of course, the Swift Gaia, the new battle tested, the skill. This was, without a doubt, a big success, right, from Konami, giving a free structure deck for a campaign, was really good, and definitely got more people playing Rush Duel than it would have been regardless. But at the same time, that might be a bit of a sticking point going forward for how they're going to balance this, because this deck disappears for new players in about a week's time. And we don't know when it's going to come back, or I don't know when the card's going to come back via the card trade or via a selection box or something. We don't know. So, given this is the first time they're doing this, we don't know how they're going to balance that either on a potential ban list coming potentially tomorrow or in a few days' time. We'll kind of talk about that. Now, let's kind of go through the problems of Rush Duel Links overall, because this event, being tier 0, being the way it is, has really shown the issues with Rush Duel Links overall. First of all, as you're seeing going through the lists, there is a lack of interaction. From back row, right, you've got Negate Attack, you've got Widespread, Buffered Slime, your King's Majesty, all really good trap cards, but all of them are battle phase dependent. Now, you are seeing some people play Trap Hole, which was really good going against, say, like a Cursed Dragon or the Battle Tester, right? You Trap Hole this, and your opponent's turn ends if they haven't got a Star Restart. That was a really solid play, but that was kind of being played more so in, I want to say, like between 15 to 30k. Once you kind of got above that is then when things kind of got back to the more battle phase focus. But that's really the only good trap card we've got that's outside the battle phase that's playable in the current format, and I believe we got that back in October, and it's now March, and so we've not really had a good trap card that can be used in about 6 months now, which is baffling. And you know, you might sit there and think, okay, sure, you've got you've got battle traps, right? That's cool, but they're never going to resolve because you've got things like a Sure Star in the format pop in the back row. You can play Dragon's Inferno in these Gaia decks and kill the back row that way, and so it's very unlikely that that's going to be resolving. And you kind of saw that going forward into the top tiers because people were going, you know what, I'm not going to bother with the back row, I'm just going to go all in, I'm going to assume the back row's going to die, I'm going to play Time Change Beam and go for OTK plays. Because you're against Gaia, right? You know you're going to have big bodies turned to warriors, or even a big warrior sitting on the board already for you, and so you know that your Sure Star can become really big, really easily, and if you do happen to, you know, get Negate attacked, then you can lose anyway, right? Just straight up, because that's what the format kind of evolved into, is you OTK or you don't, and you can see that from win rates, right? First place win rate, 56%, second place, 58%, third place, 60%. It's all around the 55 to 60% win rate range, and that's really, really low for a Duel Links Go Hard Cup KC Cup format. That's ridiculous. It was an OTK sackfest, and people are losing their mind over playing mirror matches of these for the last 72 hours. Now, this OTK-ness, it isn't new to Rush Duel in Duel Links, right? We saw Dragons, right, with Dragistar. This is the de facto OTK deck. You summon a big Hyperstar Dragonstar F, it can attack twice and deal piercing, or gain some more attack. Or you go for the Registar F, that can reduce your opponent's bodies, and can attack twice, and can kill you in one turn. Both of these can do if you try and play around it. So, if you play around Dragons, or you play around Gaia, or play around Psychics, you're punished for doing so, because they can kill you on the next turn because of the way Duel Links is. So in Duel Links Rush Duel, we have 6k life points, 30 card decks, and then consistency skills that for some reason exist. In the actual OCG, it's 8,000 life points, 40 card decks, and all the cards already for Rush Duel are designed around the 3-zone limit. It's not like Speed Duel where we had to take the OCG, the TCG, right, and compress it down. There was no real need to make Rush Duel even faster, and then remove all the interaction from outside the battle phase, and have the format become an OTK fest. And I think with something like Dragons in particular, it's really highlighted that these boss monsters, right, these should have been boss monsters that are an investment to summon, right? You are later in the game, you're bringing them out, and you're working towards it. But in Duel Links, you click the shiny yellow button, and you've got it turn 3 if your opponent starts to challenge you and play the game. It happened with Psychics, happened with Dragons, happens with Gaia, and kind of happened with Magnum Overlord back in February last year. That was kind of similar. But back to Gaia, back to this brand new deck, right? What is the crux of the issue? Well, it's the skill. Just straight up, Chivalrous Celerity is bonkers. It gives you a +3, right? Dumps a card to your graveyard, gives you a search for polymerization and a monster, meaning you can go into your Matarion combos, into heroes, into your Gaia fusions very easily, make your back row popping ones, or pop some monsters. It just does so much compared to every other skill in the game right now, even Dragons. And when you look at like a deck like, say, Pyros, right, that came out in the brand new box, your skill, Fatal Roar, is a mill skill. You've got to get lucky, and you've got to not brick. And it mills and returns a card back to your hand. And that's all it does, if there's no effect monster boss on your field. So this is RNG, random, anti-back a card. This one gives you 3 cards for free. Do we see the problem here? Like, it's so bonkers that this skill kind of passed through testing was deemed, you know, worth bringing out. Now, how would I adjust this, right? Because I don't think, despite looking at this and seeing, you know what, we've got Matarion Gaia's tier 0, I don't think Matarion itself deserved to be hit because of this. I think the skill is the way to go, and I think the way you do it is you either lock it into only being able to summon your extra deck, your Dragons or Magical Knights, meaning it's basically a Gaia skill. Do that, and immediately you're now playing pure Gaia, you're not playing all the Matarion bullshit. It's still really good, but it's not going to be as good as it is right now. Or you make it so this adding is a or effect, so you either only get a normal monster or you get a poly, you don't get both. So you've got to work for your plays, but then if you go and hit Gaia, you've then got to hit Dragons as well, because they'll just be the best deck anyway, but Konami didn't really care about that. They've been the best deck for like 3 months before this, so I don't think they care about Dragon Star OTK being a thing, and I think that's just the baffling thing, is that they like Rush Duel and Duel Links being OTK your opponent as fast as possible, and apparently that's supposed to be really fun. They could of course go down the route of saying putting a limit 3 on the Battle Tested Gaia. Now, what would this do? Well, it would somewhat remove Starry Start from the deck. Does that remove Matarion from it? No, because some weren't playing this anyway. Right, some were getting rid of this entirely, so that doesn't work out. You could limit 3 the Ashura Star as well, that would then cause some issues, right? You're then hitting Matarion again pure because of this, which I don't think they need to be hit, and I think that's why the skill is the prime target to be hit in this one, and I don't know what else you would do, aside from this guy here, Type Change Beam. Now, I know Matarion people are going to cope and say this card's necessary for the deck to exist, and I think in some ways, sure, it is, but most of the time, it is being used solely for the Ashura Star big buff up to 10k damage and OTK your opponent. That is the only time you really see this. You don't really see people playing this for the popping of a dragon or the shadow back with Spellcaster, right? You don't really see that, and it's mainly for the combo with Ashura Star, going for big 10,000 damage. It being an instant win, in most cases, is kind of cause for them to do something with it. I think now is kind of the time, and if they were to do something, as well as the skill, I think people would be kind of receptive to that positively. But I think they need to do more. And I think it needs to start with how rushed the format is. Because I would like them to go back and do what they did for Speed Duel about 5 years ago now, and increase life points for the format for a month or 2 in Ranked Ladder. And see what happens, right? We saw in Speed Duel, we saw life points go from 4,000 to 5,000, and then they thought, you know what, it didn't do much, right, we'll put it back. Now they could do that for Rush Duel, and the same could happen, and okay, fine, fair enough, you win. You know, at that point, we tested it, nothing really changed, and there you go. Or they could put it to 8,000, and things could be much more positive in terms of having much more fun experience, in that you don't just instantly lose to, say, your Gaia Conqueror champions that can kill you if you've taken any battle damage the last turn, right? There's plenty of times in the Garage Festival where you're facing Gaia and you're sitting there, it's like turn 3, right? You've gone first, right? You've made your board, your opponent's gone second, they've done piercing, cleared your board, and you're on what? 3,200 life points or something, and then you're looking at that field going, I can clear this. I can either sit there and attack in, clear it, and then die next turn anyway to a Conqueror, or I can set 3 and pass, and die anyway to piercing. And so, I don't think that's fun. I think that's kind of the point here, is that I think that at the moment, Rush and Duel Links, as much as I played the Garage Festival, right, and as much as I, enjoyed that in a way, it's not really that fun to play in the format, and I think that is partially why people are so adverse to trying to have Rush Duel, and this just kind of helps enforce that point. And the big thing, of course, is this deck is time limited. Until next week. It's then going away, and so we don't know what's going to happen for new players. Are we going to get a challenge deck every Garage Festival that comes in and just makes the metagame so unbearable? Is that going to happen from now on? Konami going to learn? Are we never going to get one of these again? We don't know how this is going to be obtained for new players after this. Is it going to be 6 months till we get them in the card trader? We don't know. There's a bunch of unknowns. Of course, Balance coming tomorrow or late this week. It was a very rambly video, I know, just kind of, spur of the moment thoughts. Have I got anything else I kind of wanted to say? I talked about, the skill being a +3, which is kind of crazy. I talked about the fact you can just, OTK through. I think that's it. It's a mess. Right, the format's a mess, my thoughts are a mess. I'm sure the comments as well are going to be a mess over on Duel Links Man, I think, I believe. People are just like, yeah, this has gotta go, it's a complete tier 0 format. I've got to do something, otherwise it's not going to be fun. Because we know from skill leaks, we're not really getting much Rush Duel in the first half of April. Aside from a Suijo rerun, that's going to be it. And that's what happens when you print an Iron Tech into Duel Links and other interactions used to stop it. Exactly that. Gaia is good no C right now, no C Rush Duel. It's not like top tier 1, but it's being played and it was really good when it came out. And yeah, we just have none of that interaction, right? None of the things that can stop Gaia are in the game. And they don't seem to want to give us anything that can stop anything unless it's in battle, but that gets popped by everything else. And so it might as well not exist. I don't know. It's been fun. Adios.